Good morning and welcome to Mornings with Megs. Happy Monday. I hope you had a fabulous weekend. I'm so excited to be here with you this morning. I've had my technical difficulty meltdown, so we're going to pick up ourselves and we're going to continue with the episode. So I have some really cool topics to chat about today, but I also want to talk about what I'm going to be chatting about for the rest of the week as well. So because I was so excited about this morning, I couldn't sleep. So I was on my laptop at like midnight last night, just researching all of the things and all of the things that I feel like would be useful, all the guests I feel like would be really, really interesting as well. So I have some really cool guests coming on for the rest of the week. So do you know what? I'll spoil it now. I've got one of my drivers, Michael Sherwell. He's coming on tomorrow. So he is obviously a race car driver, but he's also a dad of four. He also runs a business and he's also a very, very good friend of mine. So he's going to come on. We're going to talk all about resilience. That man knows a thing or seven about resilience. So I'm super excited to have him on with me. And then also I have put a call out for some real side hustle queens. So I know like with the economy and everything that's like going on in the world, that a little bit of extra side money, pocket money, is going to go a long way for a lot of people. So I put the call out. If you know anybody who has an epic side hustle, I'm talking like I want to give everybody's business a plug. I'm happy to support everybody, but I'm like super keen on some like really interesting ones too. So if you are somebody or you know anybody, send them my way. I am super keen to understand what we're doing. I also have somebody coming on board, which I can't announce yet because, like when you have to you're somebody who announces everything and you get really excited and don't really listen to when people say you can and can't announce things. I can't do that anymore because I have to respect other people's PR teams. So that's fine. I can't announce who it is. However, all I'm going to say is that if you've ever wanted the epic hot girl morning routine, this person is the one to speak about it. So I don't know if that's given it away. I don't think it's no, it definitely hasn't given it away. So yeah, we've got some cool stuff. I'm also traveling to Darwin this week. I leave for the Hidden Valley races on Thursday afternoon. And I don't know what it is with flights in Darwin, but you get in at like midnight. So I'm going to be flying into Darwin at midnight and then trying to recreate half a setup in my hotel room for Friday morning. So it's going to be interesting. I really wanted to record live from the track, but I mean, yeah, the noise is absolutely going to be it's just not going to happen. So that's okay. We'll work it out. Okay, so let's talk about what's on today's show. I am talking about growth mindset. So if you ever have heard that, you have likely done some personal development. I love to talk about growth mindsets because I think that having a fixed mindset, in my opinion, is just not the way to level up your life. But I've actually been reading this research in preparation for this morning to actually understand why people believe that a fixed mindset is actually better. And I've got a really interesting example of that from over the weekend. So I'm really keen to dive into that a little bit further. The other thing I'm going to be talking about now, this one I'm very, very excited about. So now I had a very quiet weekend because I wanted to be up and ready for this week because this is like one of the biggest weeks of my life. So I am a little bit of a scroll hole TikToker, I'll be completely honest. But now I get to say it's for research for the show. So you guys are welcome. The smile lines trend. So this is all about obviously the lines when you smile. And now I have to look at myself and the producers while I'm chit-chatting away. So I'm beyond excited to be able to see your guys' faces so that I can actually not have to stare at myself the whole time because this topic is triggering me for that reason. So the smile lines trend. So obviously in a world full of filler and Botox and everything we're doing to alter our appearances, there is this new wave of people who are actually embracing the smile lines because obviously if you've got smile lines, you've done a lot of smiling in your life, which is important. You should always, be smiling and be happy. And I guess you have a very expressionless face as well. If you're kind of not really you're not really, you got a head full of filler, you can't move it. So as somebody who, if you know me and you'll hopefully all get to know me, you will know that I cannot hide my face for anything. My facial expressions, if I'm thinking something, you best believe that I am, you can know what I'm thinking. And it's just the worst thing in the world. I really it drives me crazy, but that's okay. We make it work. So I had Botox once and it actually made my eye twitch and it was just the most bizarre thing in this whole world. So I couldn't do it again. So I'm excited to talk about that. Now, the other one I am talking about too as well today. So it wouldn't be Megs without a bit of woo-woo. So it is the Gemini New Moon this morning. Well, I think it's 12:30 Adelaide time this afternoon. So we're going to do some really cool stuff under the Gemini new moon. I am all about manifesting. I have manifested some epic things in my life. So I am very excited to chat through that with you as well. Okay, if you're live with me on YouTube, I forgot to say good morning to you. I was like too excited just to get chit-chatting. Good morning, good morning. So amazing to see you here. If you want to engage or you want to chat, please feel free. Like I said, I can't just sit here and stare at myself the whole time this morning. It's like a whole last hour where I'm like, good morning, yay. Good morning, good morning. Now, if I can't stretch out an hour with those 3 topics, no, I will, trust me. I've got some backup stuff as well, so don't even stress. Okay, I'm going to mix up the order a little bit because I really want to talk about the new moon this morning. Okay, so like I said, at 12:34 this afternoon, Adelaide time, today is like a super new moon. So apparently it is the closest moon for the whole year, and we're going to feel that a little bit more intensely than usual, okay? So this is like, well, because I'm literally, and again, in a little bit of a TikTok scroll hole yesterday, that's all my algorithm was. So, I did a lot of research about this. So basically the moon is closer to us than it has been, or will be, for the rest of the year. So it is the best time to like reset, recharge, and go if you're looking to manifest things in your life. I want to do like a woo-woo Wednesday kind of vibe for this because I love woo-woo, but also, you know, it's a fun topic for people to speak about and be more open about because some people actually don't enjoy talking about this stuff. But if you have friends in your life like me who are like, no, she pulls tarot cards and she watches the moon phases, you're my people. So welcome. So as I said, ball's on 12:34 today. And because now I'm not an astrologer, so I'm going to like say this in like normal people speaks in the way that I understand it. So basically, because the moon is so close to Earth, we feel it more intensely. So obviously the moon like guides the tides and, you know, all of the things. And we are like, I don't know, however many percent water. So we are guided by the moon, which is why people always say, now this is a new moon, right? Not a full moon. But when people always say like people have gone nuts because there's like a full moon. Yeah, apparently that's like a whole thing. So if you work in like hospitality or anywhere where you have to deal with people, apparently that's a whole thing. So people go nuts on the full moon, which we love. So basically under this new moon, we set intentions. So what we're looking to call in, like, you know, in the coming months and whatnot. So I'm going to sit down tonight actually and kind of go through all of that and what that sort of looks like. So it's like a really fresh start, obviously, you know, with this show coming on board and lots of like interesting changes in my life as I continue to sort of heal from my surgery as well. Like it feels like really fresh energy. So I am here for it. I'm very, very excited. So if you are somebody who is interested in learning more about that, like literally just like type new moon into Instagram and you see the billion pieces of content that are out there about it. But it's all about refreshing, resetting, and just like trying some new things in your life and calling in some new things. I've manifested some epic shit in my life and oh my God, I have somebody here counting my swear words as well. Just a heads up. I'm doing my best not to swear. I promise I won't drop anything terrible. But I just never realized how gross my vocabulary was until I had to record myself. So 1,000 apologies for that. Anyway, it's not going to be bad. Like it'll be fun. Anyway, so I manifested some cool stuff in my life. And it was a really fun and interesting, I guess, blend of material stuff because I love nice things. Okay, so I'm like the biggest bogan you'll ever meet in your life. But I love nice things. I love luxury and I love fancy things. I love fast cars and I also love experiences as well. So I really wanted to, when I first started learning about this stuff, I really wanted to call some like epic stuff into my life. So my first big manifestation would have been my Mercedes. So it's so funny. Like my life resets happened to be around surgery. So I just had surgery. It was for a bowel resection. So it wasn't anything to do with my endo, this one. But so it was like 2022, I reckon. Yeah, it must have been 2022. And I just had a Mazda 3. And when I say just, I loved my Mazda. I absolutely loved her so much. And her name was Black Beauty, and she was just beautiful. I absolutely loved that car. But I wanted some more mod cons. It was a manual too, which I loved. I loved, loved, loved. I love driving manual cars still. Anyway, so she was a manual. and she was beautiful. So basically, when I got out of surgery, I was just like, no, this is not what I want for my life. I need some refresh. I need some reset. This is like the worst thing ever. So I went and did this in a new moon as well. Like, I can't remember which months, not really relevant. And I wanted to like call this car into my life. And I was like, okay, like, what is a vision board? I'm like, what is this cool stuff? I love this. Anyway, went down a whole ass rabbit hole, started doing morning routines, started doing meditation, started doing all of the things. And then, so when I was specific about what I wanted to call into my life, I was like, okay, cool. I want to call in a Mercedes. So what does that look like? And then within probably probably a few weeks, I reckon, I got a car allowance at my job. So it wasn't even review time. It wasn't even anything. It was just, we had a restructure in management, and, we could either try and push for a pay rise or whatever. And I was like, and look, I'm not one to follow for financial advice. Let me tell you right now, if somebody tells you to actually do certain things with your money and they're not a financial advisor, please do not do it. But apparently, for tax purposes, this was a better thing to do. Anyway, went to the dealership, found the car. She was like a carbon, like a really, really dark, carbon, not quite black. And her name was Benzita, and she was a C200 Mercedes. She was beautiful, absolutely beautiful. So it was literally love at first sight. I drove the car. I was like, this car is 1,000% mine. So sent it off to the HR peeps at work, and I was like, cool, this is where I want my car allowance to go to. Let's do this. So I walked around my dream car. So once I did that, and it literally took a couple of weeks, I was like, this stuff might work. Let me find out some more about this. So fast forward, I can't remember. It was probably 8 months, maybe a year. I can't remember. When I was like, okay, cool. So, and because I got deep into this, right? And I was learning from people who were talking about all of this stuff. So I was like, tell me more. If that was, and I don't want to say how easy it was, but in relative terms, it was easy, right? I had done the mindset stuff to be able to have what I wanted. So I was like, well, shit, I can do that. So let's do it. So then I did a full vision board, and I had a Porsche Cayenne on it. I had a Malibu Wake Setter on it. I had a beachfront home in the Gold Coast on it. And I need to find it actually, because it's the craziest. That vision board literally came to life. It was crazy. And then, I set all of my intentions, did all of my new moon stuff at the full moon, did all of the clearings, and removed anything and everything. And to be honest, everyone who was standing in the way of me being in the kind of vibe that I needed to manifest this crazy stuff that I was manifesting. Anyway, long story short, got the car, got the boat, got the house, lived in Gold Coast on the beach for the 6 months of winter a few years ago, was doing really, really well in my career, got the pay rise, got all of the things. And so if you can believe anything today, just believe that when you start calling in things that you love in your life, watch the universe reshift everything for you, because I have witnessed it myself, and I probably wouldn't have otherwise. The other thing that I manifested, which was the coolest thing in the world, look, I don't play favorites with my children, but I love my business, Coleman & Co. She is Boutique Digital, my marketing agency. She is a beauty. The clients that I have in there and the consulting services that I do in there are so much fun. I get to be creative. I get to come up with epic campaigns. I get to do all this cool stuff. I get to go on these cool locations, right? Boutique Digital was my firstborn child. She was my first business, and I manifested her actually in the quote unquote success in her as well. So, but Coleman & Co, being around motorsport and the drivers that I have in my life now, to be able to say that this is what I do for a living is beyond amazing. I am so in love with what I do inside that business, as hard as it is a lot of the time, and as mentally taxing as it can be, and as up and down emotionally as you can be. I just absolutely love it. I have the best drivers in the world, and I have the best relationships with them. And I'm beyond grateful that my work is literally like I said, this on Thursday, I'll be going to Darwin for Hidden Valley races. Ayrton, one of my drivers, he is racing in Super 2, and we have the best. I have a really good relationship. He's I know he's not going to listen to this, so I can talk as much smack about him as I want. Although actually, Paul and Lisa, if I talk mean things, make sure you tell him. So it's gonna be a really, really cool weekend. So as I sit here in a jumper and have the heater on in front of me right now, because it is freezing here in Adelaide, it's gonna be 30 degrees and humid in Darwin. So I'm very excited. Anyway, I'm getting sidetracked. Oh, yeah. No, I'm not. I'm still on my point. I was just checking my notes. I have to check my notes and I can't hold them up here like a normal person. So you're going to have to forgive me as I look down. If you're on audio, you're not going to notice this. So I've just outed myself for absolutely no reason. Okay. So if you're calling in anything new in your life, do it now, do it today, and watch just how miracles happen and things reshift, because it is absolutely magical. This stuff works. And I would love for everybody to, I guess, experience what I've experienced and what I've been able to call in, because it's just it's just the best thing in the world. Okay. So that's what we're talking about. New moons. I'm just going to draw. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Sorry, I'm going to get sidetracked. I got to start looking in this chat. All right, that's it. I'm going to get told up by the producers now. Okay. All right. So the next thing we're talking about is the growth mindset. Just got a reality check. Now, I find this fascinating, and this is similar to mindset. And obviously, because this is Mindset Monday, I want to talk all about mindset today. But basically, it's the concept that you have the ability to rethink your way out of everything, anything and everything, and all of the situations, right? So deciding you believe one thing in the moment and then switching that to suit the circumstances that you're in. And it's really interesting because I had somebody very close to me have a really traumatic experience last week, which actually involved one of his workers unfortunately killing somebody. Completely accidental. It was it's still investigating, so I don't want to say too much. But basically, when the way that he's dealt with it versus the way that his boss has dealt with it is just a really interesting, I guess, dynamic. So his boss is actually a fiery. So if you think about the people in emergency services, and I can't speak for all, I have unbelievable doctors that I truly believe on for most of the time, but these people really have to protect their own minds, right? So if you think of a paramedic or a firefighter or even police, anything in your job where you experience really traumatic things, it actually can be super beneficial if you are the best at compartmentalizing things. If you can actually leave things on the side because you're not you don't want to take that home with you. So obviously, we got into this whole growth mindset thing. It was motivational quotes and workshops and, mindset practices and, creating I guess, all of this growth and adapting depending on sometimes. And what I think the research is now showing is that it's only half of the equation to be able to just, I guess, positively think your way out of a situation. So basically, it's, I guess, the context and the personality and the systems around you that actually do the most heavy lifting when you're doing this. And in high pressure and competitive settings, the more realistic and quote unquote fixed read of your limits can actually protect you. All right. It lowers your stress, and chasing infinite improvement helps you avoid burning out. So by having a variably fixed mindset, growth fixed mindset, I'll come back to you on that. You are able to protect yourself because you're not always trying to do more. You're not always trying to grow. You're not always trying to outthink your way out of every situation, because some situations can just suck. In the case that I was referring to, that situation just sucked. And I don't think we should be judgmental about how people deal with things like that, because we all have our own processes of how we deal with things like that. And also, I guess we might change and things might be a little bit more malleable as we get older and we go through new things, and things potentially might affect us less. However, having a fixed mindset whereby the second you walk out of the door, or the second you finish the meeting, or the second you finish the argument, or all of those things, that you can sort of leave it in there. And there is this other sort of theory, is you can experience the event, so whatever it may be, and then from that negative event, you actually think of the worst of the worst of the worst. So you what people in the personal development call going to the bottom. So you can literally dive to the depths of the worst possible outcome and make yourself okay with that outcome, and then basically raise your vibe from there. So I was always a massive one of having a growth mindset. And this is purely because when I get into certain situations and I either am stressed or I panic, my brain performs crazily well. Pressure for me, and I don't know if it's because of that I have ADHD, and pressure literally just makes me a superstar. and I can do 7,000 things at once that I've literally put off for like ever. So when you go through these hard times, I always try and think of things that I can, like, there's always something that can be done. Okay. So I'm going to hold the belief that that is still true, because I don't want to just be like, you know what, this situation sucks, like full stop on this. I actually want to be able to think what actually can be done. But then the other half of that, which I think is the 50% they're sort of referring to here, is actually just understanding that sometimes things can suck, and you don't have to always kind of outrun or kind of outthink or positively say affirmations about a situation that is just really sucky. So there is a book, and I'm going to butcher this, and if my mum was on here live, she would be able to tell me. I think her name was Dr. Nicole LaPara. God, I'm going to find that out and I'm going to put it on my Instagram. And she like wrote a whole book about the growth mindset. And when I actually read that book, I was like, yeah, this actually makes sense for the way that my brain works. So something happens and it causes me like physical reaction in my body or in my mind. And then I'm like, okay, cool. Like what can I do? Like, and immediately it's like my brain will go into overdrive and literally try and either fix the thing or, try and do something that will make the situation better, because we don't like feeling like shit, obviously. So why that's very different to having a fixed mindset is obviously because if you just have a fixed mindset, some of these things can kind of bubble up under the surface forever and you seem quite rigid. So if you can't change your way of thinking and you can't kind of evolve with what's going on in your world, I think it would be a little bit more of a tricky place. Thank you, Mum. Mum's in the chat, everybody. Dr. Nicole Lapara. And Mum, while you're here, can you please tell me what the name of the book was? Thank you so much. So now I've lost my train of thought. See, this is why you shouldn't have an ADHD person with the chat open. Yeah, so the growth mindset, fixed mindset. So, because obviously if you suppress any kind of emotions, or you're like, okay, like this is, this sucks, but forget about it kind of thing. I think outthinking your way out of certain situations is always a good thing, so that you don't hold on to those emotions and those feelings, because obviously they're physically going to be able to cause issues within your body eventually, because you can't just keep repressing like what you're going through. So anyway, the whole point of that is it's really interesting. And see, this is the cool thing about life, right? This growth mindset, like 2 years ago, was literally the only thing that people were believing. Like, you can't have a fixed mindset. You've got to have a growth mindset. You can't just think one way. You've got to think all the ways. However, now the more that we're processing different things as we're going through in life, and you know what? I really feel like COVID has actually played a huge part in our abilities to think differently. Because if you think about when we're like all going through COVID, it was like, let's like take your minds back, right? It's April 2020. Like, the world is shutting down. Everyone's at home. Shit's going crazy. People are like going insane. And yeah, we had not, well, I had not in my lifetime anyway, I had never experienced anything like that. So immediately in my mind, I'm like, what do we do? This is the worst thing ever. I'm going to believe everything that is on the news. Like, oh my God, However, now when you see any kind of release of some new super bug or like major flu or like any of these things, people just laugh, because it's like, okay, here's the fear mongering coming from the media. Like, I find it actually hilarious. So just think, if we could only think that way, and we didn't then evolve and continue. And thanks, Mum. So How to Do the Work is the book. I was completely wrong. So it is, thanks, Mum. So yeah, How to Do the Work by Dr. Nicole Lapara, Lepera. It's a great book. I highly advise listening to it or reading it. I didn't read it. I listened to it. So yes. Anyway, I think it's really cool that we can take all of these learnings and we can actually just implement them to what makes sense in our lives. Okay. Super, super important. So whilst this isn't like a don't believe in yourself kind of situation, this is literally like absolutely believe in yourself. But it was like, if you felt like you were kind of continually trying to like outrun your beliefs, it can get a little bit exhausting. So it is okay that, this situation just sucks and we hate it, and life is going to get better. And yeah, we can try again tomorrow when we wake up fresh. Okay. Excuse me. This one I'm excited about. Okay. I could talk about mindset forever and ever and ever and a day, because I have done some really cool stuff and people around me have done some really, really cool stuff. And I truly believe that living in this personal development world that you literally, I feel like it's this day and age, because I feel like if you introduced this like way back when, you know, in like the whatever hundreds, when they actually like used to burn witches and shit, like I feel like that's what I probably would have done in a past life. But yeah, I think it's really cool that we can have these discussions. Okay, let's talk about the smile lines trend. So as I said, there is this thing going around on TikTok at the moment where people are like either getting their filler dissolved or just abandoning the whole perfect face kind of situation. And we're really showcasing our features because obviously the fact that you, like, it's a well-lived face, okay? So if you have smile lines, like I have some rippers and I actually have a really annoying frown line, which actually every time I look at it, funnily enough, now that I think about it, I'm like, don't frown. You'll get that ugly line in your face. Don't be sad, because then you'll frown and then you'll get the ugly line in your face. So I think I've actually like gaslit myself into trying not to frown too much. But as I said, I'm probably one of the most expressive people that I know, and it really sucks. Don't take me to, well, actually, no. If you want to invite me to a poker game, like I'll be out first. And like, first of all, I don't know how to play poker, but I also do not have a poker face. Like it's the worst thing in the world. So you literally, like, you know what I'm thinking any second of every day. And it actually doesn't take a lot by people long to like, once you meet me and you actually get to know my, I guess you have a conversation with me, and it's that obvious that if I am like confused by what you're saying, or if I'm like, this, I don't believe this at all, or if this is the stupidest thing I've ever heard, or oh my God, I'm in love with this topic, keep on talking. Yeah. And it's just hilarious because as I look at myself right now, I get it. So I thank my parents for that, because I'm sure it was a trait that I inherited from one of them. Thanks guys. Appreciate you. Anyway, let's talk about, I guess, the gap between what we praise and what we book in for versus, yeah. Let's talk about what we want to be as women in society. And guys, stick with me here because I would really love a opinion from people on this, because, or from anybody, because I feel like embrace like a trend, like it's a trend, right? So right now it's like embrace your smile lines, embrace your natural face, like do all of these things. But trends go away. That's the whole point of a trend, right? It's a whole thing and then it's not. So I don't want this to be like a provisional or a bit of a bridge between what people used to get done versus what they're not getting done now because it's trendy not to inject your face with a bunch of fillers and Botox. And look, I throw no shade on this. As I said, I had Botox once and I definitely think I would have done it again. But the only reason I didn't is like, I think it was in my left eye. It actually like started twitching and like continually twitching. And it drove me like insane. So I didn't want to do that again because I like the second that I could feel like my forehead, like being able to move again, it really started to drive me insane. And I didn't want to go through with that, especially as someone who suffers with quite bad migraines, because that is normally one of the first telltale signs that I'm getting a migraine is that my eyes start twitching. So I literally lived for like 3 months thinking, oh my God. Yeah. And then also the other thing too, which is funny, is that I would be talking to people and I wasn't really listening because I was like, this eye is twitching. It's driving me insane. So like, drive me nuts. Anyway, so I'm excited to dive into this, and I actually have a guest coming up. And like, I just really wish I could say who it was. It's like really annoying. Anyway, is all about this. And I will say that because I am unbelievably obsessed with the show Turned On Dirty Sexy Money, it's on Stan. It's this new series about OnlyFans models. So if you look at the women on that show, like drop dead gorgeous, like stunning. Okay. And gone are the days where we used to like have baboon ass lips. Okay. Very, very different. You can have subtle ones, but I still feel like you can mostly tell. So I would what I guess I'm mostly interested in particular is if you are somebody who does get Botox, or you are somebody that gets filler or any kind of like body augmentation whatsoever, I would love to, I guess, understand, and I think this is probably the biggest takeaway of it, is do you do it for yourself or do you do it because you want people to see you a certain way? So I am all for dressing up for yourself and looking cute as hell for yourself and looking in the mirror and being like, yes, queen, you look unbelievable, okay? Because if you don't tell yourself, like no one else is going to tell you, or you're just not going to take it seriously because you don't actually believe yourself, and we're not about that. So I get my lashes done every 2 weeks, like religiously. And like when I say religiously, like my lash tag, she's the best person in the whole wide world. Absolutely adore her. And we've been friends for like 12 years because I've been getting my lashes done for 12 years, to the point where like we have this funny, I mean, I think it's funny. I speak quite openly and about death. So I'm so sorry if you find this conversation morbid, but with someone with like 2 chronic health issues, like you got to make it laugh. And I said to her, like, if I have an open casket at my funeral, my lashes better be done. Like I can't because, and again, this isn't for anybody else except for myself because I look at myself and when my lashes are done, I'm like, okay, like feel the new Megs. Same with my brows. And I noticed this particularly when I was in hospital because obviously, you just look like a piece of shit in hospital. Nobody ever, well, not true, actually. Some women just look like flawlessly unbelievable all of the time. I'm not one of those people, especially when my lashes and my brows are not done. So in my healing, like little phase that I've kind of decided I'm over now and I'm healed. Every time I looked in the mirror, I was like really, really sad with what I saw. So I was like, oh, like my beady little eyeballs, like gone, and like my brows that are literally like basically blonde and can't even see them, and they're joined together because they're so messy, right? And I was like, shit, this is actually not good for my recovery. Like I need to go and get this stuff done because the second I did, when I got my brows done, when I got my lashes done, I was like, oh, okay, like every time, like even doing this recording as well, like I literally tried to push it back another week to go live purely because my hair is not done. And the reason that I didn't is because the production team actually called me out and they were like, well, you talk about being so authentic and, showing up, however, at 6:30 every morning, and you're going to practice what you preach. So I am grateful that I had that thrown back at me because that is so absolutely true. So instead of worrying about my regrowth right now, I have headband in my head because that's apparently how we hide regrowth these days. And now I'm also going to be in my hat era. So I bought some cute little hats as well because if you're blonde, I'm trying not to get my hair done for a little bit. Yeah, so I'm going to try and stick out the old regrowth. So anyway, I think that the way that we are glamorizing the cosmetic surgery industry, and I think if you are somebody that is doing this because you're trying to look a certain way for anybody other than yourself, I think it can be really, really harmful. And if you look at anybody, and like we'll take weight loss for an example, I know it's really, really common that people who are unhappy with their figure, who go on this massive, big, healthy lifestyle, journey, and then they lose all the weight and they're still unhappy. And they're like, well, why? Like I'm skinny, I look how I wanted to look, and now I'm still not happy. So it really talks back to the point that you really need to be doing these things for yourself and not to impress other people because like you may get that temporary like hit of people being like, oh my God, look at you look amazing. Like, what have you got done? Like, but then that will go away. And then I feel like with some people, it almost becomes this addiction of like, I need that back. So what else can I go and do? I mean, the fact that you can fly to Turkey, go and get like a hair transplant. I mean, there's a whole thing called a mummy makeover where like they, I don't know, suck a bunch of fat out of everywhere. And, BBLs have become a whole big thing. Like who in the world thought 10 years ago that BBL would be unbelievably popular? I don't have as much of a problem with BBLs because I am like, I grew up in the 90s. Right, in the early 2000s, where being the skinniest thing you could possibly be was like it. And because I am like 6 foot tall, I am like quite bigger structured. And because your girl loves chocolate, I was never like, well, except for when I played netball, I was never that stick thin person. So I was always like, I always felt different. And I was always like looking and comparing myself to these girls who were like tiny, stick thin and were like the height I wanted to be because I was not interested in standing out. Whereas now it seems like we've gone the complete opposite and we're like, okay, how do I stand out as much as possible? And how can I get myself that praise that I really want to, have people be like, oh my God, like, what have you had done? Like, oh my God, you're looking great these days. Like, what do you, how, all of the things. Okay. So really, really important to make sure that it comes from a good place. Mum, a BBL is a Brazilian butt lift. Thank you for you made me go back on my point because that was what I was talking about. I love this is a thing because women have like these gorgeous hips now, right? And there's big chunky bums. And I love that. Love, love, love. So I think that's a little bit different and again, because of this show, I swear to God, like I'm unbelievably obsessed and I'm unbelievably excited to actually have one of the stars on that show come on board. Oh, God, I can't wait to put it down outside. Anyway, shut up. Let's move on. Yeah. So I love that that's what we're going for, the fuller figure, like the big boobs, the big bum. But yeah, we're still obviously, going for the tiniest waist possible. And I think if you look at that industry in particular, it has, I guess it's kind of glamorized a little bit what that actually is. So whereas before it was just like this big far-fetched thing where you're like, oh my God, you got lipo, like, oh my God, you got this. And to the point where like it used to be, from what I understand, quite expensive. But now, like I said, you can go over to Turkey and get like your whole body done in one, and then, walk out of your surgery bay thing that's like basically a hotel room, and then, fly home a couple of days later in absolute agony, and then off you go on your way again. So it's just the craziest thing to me. So anyway, where I'm going with all of this is I think I love, 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 love this concept. And I love that people are either dissolving filler or, aren't getting their Botox retouched because they want to go all natural. I truly just hope that it's not just because of the trend, and that it's sort of like a shift that we're going to see in people. And, I love, well, actually, this is debatable. So since I turned 30, I all of a sudden decided to like start my skincare routine. Like I like took it seriously, because obviously, again, when I smile, there are certain lines. And then when like I laugh, there's certain lines. And what I found the worst thing ever is because obviously, like being in the industry that I'm in now with motorsport in particular, I'm in a lot of content and I'm photographed a lot. And even to the point on like if I'm on TV, the first thing I do, which is actually really outing myself here, and I didn't really realize until I just thought of it then. The first thing I do is go back and watch it and see how chunky I looked in it. So that's not great. I need to work on that. I'm going to note that down for later. But yeah, because I stand in the sun and I squint. And so literally like the second to the chunkiness, I'm like, oh my God, like my face, like, oh my God, my wrinkle lines. I'm like, oh my God, am I this? So what I'm really going to try and do, I'm going to let you guys know how I go, is that I'm going to embrace it and put a lot more of a positive spin on it when I look at photos of myself, especially. Okay. I love motorsport. I love my business. I love being at the racetrack. I love all of the things. So hence why I'm smiling. Like it's actually my happy place. I bloody love it there. So yeah, I mean, it's pretty stupid that I'm in the happiest place in my life and I expect not to be smiling and happy about it. And then I have a sook because of my fine lines that you can then see. Interesting. Anyway, moving on from that. I'm just thinking because I've literally got like 3 days till I go to Darwin. So it's going to be really, really interesting to see if I can hold myself to this. And I'm going to share it along the way, which is another thing I didn't do this morning because I like literally couldn't do anything but be unbelievably excited this morning, is I'm going to bring you all along with me. So if you're new to my world and you're like, who the hell is this girl? I'm going to bring you on every day with me. So every day this week, which, as I said, I meant to start today. But I was too excited because, obviously I have 2 businesses and I also now have this show, and it's, living and running my life is pretty hectic, but it's just the best thing in the world. So you can all come on that for me. I would just love to know if you could reverse age, or if you are getting fillers or these injectables or anything like that. Is it because you are insecure with how you look and you want to do it for other people? Or is it because, you look in the mirror and you're just like, yeah, she's looking good today? And not by other people's standards too, by the way, obviously by your own standards. Okay. Really, really important. Okay. Thank you so much for being here with me. I've absolutely loved. All right. I've got one more topic to talk to you about, and I'm very, very excited to talk about this. I've said that about every topic, but like we're going for it. Okay. So and you know what? This actually like segues perfectly from like what we were just talking about. So basically there is this huge thing out there, obviously the comparison trap, we all know it. I am a sucker for it still to this day. And I am I try to be as aware of my thoughts as I possibly can. But yeah, even I still suffer with this sometimes. It's really about comparing myself. And I find that people often say it's when they scroll through social media that they feel this way, or look, let's be honest, it's probably mostly from social media. But basically studies have shown that social media can actually lower positive and higher change how you positively or negatively feel about yourself day to day. And it's interesting because when you look at other people who are either doing the things that you want to do or, further along in their journey than you, right? We tend to look and be like, well, why aren't I there yet? What's going on? And yeah, it's never a good thing because you don't know people's circumstances. Okay. The other thing I will say, yes, comparison is absolutely the thief of joy. So on paper, a few years ago, my life looked unbelievable. right? I had the Porsche. I had the very high paying fancy job. I flew business class everywhere. I had a boat, right? I had all of these things. I had a partner at the time. And then I had my beachfront apartment in the Gold Coast, and I had all of these things. So on paper or on social media, looking at me, you would be like, yes, like, oh my God, her life. And I used to get the comments all the time, like, oh my God, I wish I had what you have. And like, oh God, like my car sucks because you've got this car. And, even to the point where we would take the boat out and I would tow it with my car, which I know is not really smart thing to do, but that's okay. And to be fair, like, I very rarely towed it. I would make everybody else do it. Yeah. So, and then I would literally have people, and I remember this so vividly, that I was in the midst of a horrifying flare. I was in so much pain. I didn't want to be at the river, but I'd already committed to being there with everybody, and I had the boat. So I was in the driver's seat, actually, because this is when I will happily drive it. Well, I don't have it anymore, but when I used to be okay driving it, it was like literally 20 kilometers down the road to the boat ramp. And then I'd get out and make somebody else reverse it in. And so I'm sitting there and I'm like, oh God, like, I was trying not to cry. The pain was that bad. Like, nothing I took made it better. I was so bloated. I was so uncomfortable. I wasn't going to actually be able to go in the water when I got there because, if you know, you know. So, and then I'm like driving, because you have to do like 10 kilometers an hour around like the boat ramp and stuff. So, and then I saw this lady, she goes, oh my God, I want to be like her. Like, look at that. So here I am, absolutely hating my life, in agony, in all sorts. And this girl is looking at me and she's like, oh my God, I want that. But if you saw what was happening underneath, trust me, you wouldn't have wanted that. It was not a fun time in life. So it's true that we really don't know what's going on. And often, I think as I've gotten older and I've gotten to understand people's behaviors, and I guess the more experience I've had, especially in business, things like the loudest person in the room is often the most uneducated. Okay. And it's just, or even the loudest person in the room is like typically feeling like they have to voice and they have to be heard because, they don't have anything meaningful to give. So it's like, was it quality over quantity? So it's quantity over quality with some people. So I really think that a study that we're looking at, where it says 90% of young women report feeling dissatisfied with their appearance after time on image focused platforms. Okay. I know what damage it did to us, as if you grew up in the 90s and the early 2000s, you will know this to be true as well, is we looked at the Kayla Itzinas, the Ashley Byrneses, and, all of that era of people then, and we wanted to be that skinny and we wanted to look like that. And, but that was with minimal content consumption, right? You would see people on you would see these photos on magazines and, occasionally potentially on a website if you went on their website, or then also on, the news, whatever, right? So you would see them sparingly. So we didn't have as much of a, I guess, like complete obsession or like access to be able to do this to ourselves more often. Okay. It was just like once a month when your Cosmo or your Clio mag got delivered, that you would, live and be like, oh my God, like, look at her body. So I do worry a little bit now that we have this new, obviously we have access to anything at any time, all the time. So if I want to go online and have a Buddhist quiz, I can easily go and compare myself to, anybody and everybody around me because I have access to do so. And I think that all of the work that I have done to undo those programs in myself, I just think, it just makes me nervous, I guess, for, the next 10 years of young women and men growing up and comparing themselves to, I don't look like that and I want to look like that. And why don't I look like that? Because I've seen somebody else look and have that sort of life. And if we've learned anything about social media, is that you can stage anything, and especially in the world of AI. And look, I think I'm still pretty good at picking what is real and what is bullshit when it comes to AI, but not always. Okay. Sometimes it's still doing its thing. So I guess that worries me for the future generation of women who are like comparing themselves 24/7 to these models on the internet, and people have the ability to hide and fake so much. We used to get warned about airbrush, right? Like, if you remember, like those magazines I just talked about, it was all about airbrushing to get the figure that you wanted to be on the front cover of all of these magazines. So like we are now, we were never comparing ourselves with actually something legit. Like, we were comparing ourselves with a altered version of what it actually was. So I think that if you have younger children, and you know what, this isn't just especially girls, I'm not going to say that. This is literally both, because I think body dysmorphia in men, from what I have heard and what I understand, and purely because I've just been in and around the body, not in it. Certainly haven't been in it. I've been around the bodybuilding world, that your body dysmorphia and your actual comparison, like in real life, and the discipline and the things you have to do to your body to get them in the shape to, go on those crazy comp stages, right? And you still look at yourself in the mirror and you don't see what everybody else sees reflecting back to you. Yeah, it's pretty damaging to our minds. So I think it's just a really good timely reminder. Again, I was just talking about getting filler and altering our faces and, using filters and all of these sorts of things. One thing I find unbelievably contradicting, and I will probably die on this hill, is people that are in the personal development or mindset space that actually put filters on their content. So the people that I admire and the people that I looked up to, my first sort of like litmus test of whether I am going to continue to consume that person's content, or that I'm going to be, use these people as an expander in my life, is their authenticity online. Okay. If you are preaching to me, love yourself, grow yourself, all of these crap, and you are speaking on your stories and you have a filter on, absolutely not. Like, that is so fake. You cannot preach that to other people when you don't do it yourself, especially in this online space. Okay. So I will die on that hill, because I just think filters, I think, also did a lot of damage to us. I mean, I used to use them all the time, probably in my late 20s, I want to say. I'm trying to think. I don't actually, I don't care about outing my age here. I think it probably would have been maybe 10 years ago when those Snapchat filters first came out, and they made quite a big difference to your face. And I can't remember if it was Snapchat that had them first and then they went over to Instagram and everywhere else. Can't remember. Either way, whatever. And yeah, I think we heavily used them because we liked the way that it changed our face. But in a world of makeup being able to catfish the hell out of somebody, and, filters doing a lot more damaging. And even in the online dating world, actually, I'm so fascinated by this world too, by the way. And that was the other call that I put out. So this week, I'm actually going to be interviewing some couples that met online, because I want to give all our single gallies a little bit of glimmer of hope in our otherwise not shiny dating life. Yeah, let's go with that. So yeah, when obviously people would alter, and people probably still do, I suppose. When I had a Hinge profile, I literally tried to find the most quote unquote normal on the scale of a little bit not flattering of myself, because I was like, you know what, it will just get better. Because what you're seeing now is not a super accurate representation. I can do better, right? So I'll dazzle you with my personality, and then when you see me in real life, you'll be like, oh, you're still there. So, but I was reverse psychologying myself, in gaslighting myself really into still convincing myself that I was not attractive. So go figure. So if you think, and again, I get it. It's such a self-esteem thing. And I understand that you look at these people and you want their body and you want their life and you want their face and you want all of the things. Okay. But just be mindful that when you're looking at these people, and this is nothing new, right? This is nothing groundbreaking I'm about to say. It's just, I think, a timely reminder, as I found myself comparing myself, especially with coming on here today. The imposter syndrome is real. And I think that's actually why I was excited, but I couldn't sleep last night, because I was like, oh my God, what if nobody listens? What if, even though I've signed a 6-month contract, they want to get rid of me because I suck and I'm not funny and I have a boring personality and I've got no new original ideas for a show. I was spiraling. And then looking at established shows and, even podcasts, because this one, since live, will be uploaded as a podcast, so you can catch up on it later if you weren't here live with me. It got pretty real, because I was like, God, I've got to build this community. I've got to build this audience. And for me, having this show is the most fun thing in the world, because I get to ask people to come on to my show, so that I otherwise probably wouldn't be able to have, why would this person want to speak to just some random blonde chick on the street? Whereas now I'm look, come onto my show, talk to my people. So looking at people that are doing all of these crazy, awesome things in life, and then or having this show that, has hundreds of thousands of listeners and viewers and subscribers and followers and all the thing. When you're first starting out, you're like, oh my God, like I would never have given myself the permission to go for this and to actually like sit here, have the team push record and then do my 5-second countdown until we go live. I never, ever, ever, ever in this whole world would have been able to do that if I hadn't done, I guess, some sort of internal work and just given myself the permission to dream unbelievably massive. Because that's the other thing, is that in this whole manifesting world, any limitations you put on yourself, you're putting on your your whole like ability to be able to manifest, right? Because if you actually deep down subconsciously don't believe you can do well, or you can call in these things, or you can have this thing in your life, that's what you're going to see. So it's just like serendipitous timing that, my first live show is today, and that is the new moon in Gemini today. And that, in order to be able to be successful with this show, I know I will probably have to do a lot of digging and find out like what if there is, and there are things, well, and what they are subconsciously holding me back in making this show a massive success. So I want to be able to get through that without having to, I guess, live it in real time. I want to clear out all of that crap now so that I can just focus on, being entertaining, being educational, being informative, and being someone that you can listen to at 6:30 in the morning, whether you're, just getting up and you're getting ready and listening to me, or you're in the car already on your way to work, or, you're having a nice slow morning in bed because it's freezing, wherever you are. I want my intention for my listeners and for the show is for you to feel inspired, to feel upbeat, to, listen to guests speak to me about this epic life that they have created, and for us to all find like massive inspiration in all of the things. So that is my purest intentions for this show. And the reason why I've dug so deep into finding out some real juicy topics, getting some real epic guests on for you is obviously, I want that for myself too. Like I'm super keen to speak to these people. It's going to be exciting as hell, but also I know the power of having a platform or a space or a podcast or a radio show or a Instagram, whatever, that I can turn on and listen to, and that puts me in a particular exciting state for the day. So my intention for the show is for that to, be that for my listeners, but then also for myself too, because it's really hard when you're sitting here, shitting yourself, about to push record or have record pushed for you, knowing that there are people on the other side of the screen that I can't see listening in and watching in. Yeah, it's pretty overwhelming. So that is my intention for the show. And that has perfectly been the best way to segue into wrapping things up for the morning. Oh my God, that hour actually flew by. Holy moly. So I just want to thank you so much if you are here live with me, or you're going to catch up on this later. Feedback is a gift, which I don't always take well, but I'm open to feedback. I'm open to, and I don't say constructive criticism because it still is a really like icky term. Yeah. So any feedback you have, any guests you want to hear from, anything you want me to dive deep into and talk about, I'm literally using this show as a way to like find out all of the best life hacks in life and to try new things and to tell you how they worked for me so that you can, make it your own and do cool things. So thank you so much for being here. I hope you enjoyed. Please come over to any of my social media. So my Instagram handle is @morningswithmegs radio. I'm pretty sure Facebook is the same and TikTok is also the same. So come across. I would love to see you. I would love to know how you found this episode. I'd love to know who you want to hear from. I'd love to know how you're doing. I just want this community. I'm so excited to meet some epic new friends and do some cool stuff together. So have the best Monday. Happy New Moon in Gemini. And let's go play big. Let's go do some cool shit. And I'll see you guys tomorrow. Bye.